Hey, I'm Katie Wawa, and it's time for August's Most Anticipated. So it has definitely been a while since I last made a most anticipated video. I can't actually remember how long ago, but I think it might be well over a year. Yeah. The truth is that I've actually been planning and writing a most anticipated video pretty much every month, but every single month things get in the way, and before I know it, it's the end of the month and there's no month left to anticipate. So even though technically we're midway through August, I wanted to take the chance to talk about some of the albums I'm really excited about coming out this month, because none of them have come out yet. So without further ado, let's get into an old school most anticipated. Let's start with Death Cab for Cutie, who are releasing their 9th LP, Thank You for Today.
Swinging on the wrecking ball, through these laughing plaster walls, just letting all the shadows free, the ones I wish still followed me.
Death Cab for Cutie are one of those true original emo bands. I don't know if I really want to get into the whole debate and confusion about true emo and the confusion with pop punk. There are a lot of confusions and misapprehensions about what emo music really is, and a lot of people have an idea of it that's very different from true emo. Maybe I should make a video about that, I don't know. But in my opinion, bands like My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy don't really class as emo. I have loved Death Cab for Cutie for so long. I fell in love with Plans when I was a teenager and then listened back through their discography. I love the melancholy, the beautiful lyric images, the emotive instrumentation, and Ben Gibbard's trademark vocals. I always feel like Ben Gibbard is wiretapping my heart. Some of the lyrics that he writes just feel like they come straight from within me, and I think a lot of people feel a similar way. Of the tracks that they've released so far, Autumn Sun and I Dreamt We Spoke Again are both full of yearning. Meanwhile, Gold Rush is excitingly ominous. It's about that sense of loss at seeing your hometown change. I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to at the moment, particularly in light of increased discussion about gentrification and also the unregulated commodification of the housing market. I swear that's like as political as I'll get this video, but I really enjoyed 2015's Kintsugi, which dealt with the departure of longtime member Chris Waller. Thank You for Today sees the recording debuts of 2 new members of Death Cab, Dave Depper and Zach Ray. So one of the reasons that I'm so excited about this album is because it means that Death Cab are going to be touring again. I'm actually going to be seeing them when they play in London in February, and I have to say that if you like Death Cab, seeing them live is so incredible. I remember when I saw them last time, there was this amazing moment when they played I Will Follow You Into the Dark. The entire band left except for Ben, and he was just left there in one spotlight with a single acoustic guitar, and in that moment he sang this incredible song that I think means a lot to a lot of people. And even though it felt so personal and intimate, I could also tell that everybody in that room was relating to it on a similar level, and I just thought, like, there's so much power in that, in making something so personal and intimate but everybody feels it. And yeah, I just think that they're magic, basically. That's one of the things that I really love about Death Cab. So in terms of the vinyl release, you can pre-order it, and it also comes in a number of bundles. It's going to be pressed on black vinyl, but there's also like some cool t-shirts and sweatshirts and such. It's also available on cassette in the US, which I find just so entertaining, the way that all albums are being released on cassette now. It's definitely an interesting nostalgic thing and a cheaper way to distribute, and it's cool. I've pre-ordered one of the merch bundles and I can't wait to get it. Next, pop empress Ariana Grande is releasing her 4th LP, Sweetener.
I could be all the things you told me not to be. Yeah. When you try to come for me, I keep on flourishing. Yeah. And he see the universe when I'm the company.
Ariana Grande has released a series of stellar singles, and the video for God Is a Woman is just incredible. I love the references to Madonna throughout, and also the guest voice sample that she does, as well as all of the references to famous artworks. Like, I had a lot of fun geeking out a bit and trying to identify them. And in fact, the way that the video for God Is a Woman references those artworks, I think draws a really interesting parallel with one of Laura Marling's albums, Semper Femina, which deals a lot with the female role as muse within a lot of artwork. Apparently, God Is a Woman is also one of Ariana Grande's grandmother's favourite tracks, which I find particularly funny because the song is all about female sexuality, but you know, grandmas, cool. In general, I was kind of surprised at how excited I was for this album. I think that before in my head, I've kind of written off Ariana Grande as being a bit too produced or like a bit too commercial. But actually, the more I've listened to her and the more that I've seen her work and the things that she's interested in and her involvement in producing her records, I think I have to admit that I was wrong. She just keeps getting stronger and stronger and defining her artistic identity and ideas to the extent that I think before, I'll admit, I and probably a lot of other people couldn't really distinguish her from other pop singers, but now she's becoming very clearly a defined artistic identity, which I have a lot of respect for. So as I mentioned, Grande was involved in the writing of her album tracks, and also I was very excited to see that Max Martin was involved in a lot of the tracks as well. If you don't know who Max Martin is, he is one of the most successful, most prolific masters of the pop genre. He's behind a lot of the most successful pop songs like Oops, I Did It Again, California Girls, and Shake It Off. Unless you have very strict niche listening habits, you've probably heard one of his tracks. I'm also really excited for some of the collaborations on Sweetener. There's a collaboration with Missy Elliott and also one with Pharrell Williams. The only downside is that Sweetener isn't currently scheduled to have a vinyl release. It's going to be available on CD and digital and streaming, but no vinyl. I'm not too worried though, because Dangerous Woman and My Everything were both eventually pressed onto vinyl, so I suspect that it might be one of those classic cases where as a pop album it gets a general format release and then later on they release a vinyl version. Perhaps they might even do a cool limited release. I think this is just a case of the pop industry being a bit cautious about pressing on vinyl. It can be a very expensive step, and sometimes, unfortunately, the record labels just aren't sure that enough people will buy it. The only solution, I guess, is to say, hey, I'll buy it. And so hopefully if enough of us do that, they will start pressing more mainstream pop artists on vinyl straight away. And as a side note, if you do hear that Sweetener is getting a vinyl pressing, I would love it if you'd let me know. The fantastic indie artist Mitski releases her 5th album this month, Be the Cowboy. Subscribed for a while, then you may remember that Mitski's previous album, Puberty 2, was part of my Best of 2016 video. Puberty 2 was such an iconic album. It had melancholy, it had bangers, it had everything in there. And I am definitely ready for more Mitski. I was trying to think of how to describe Mitski's music, and I actually found a really wonderful description of it by the writer April Claire Welsh in one of her articles for Fact Mag. She says, Mitski makes music that codifies our desires to be seen and our distresses about being alive. Like, yes! Mitski's work is existentialist and it focuses on the human condition, but it's from this refreshingly female perspective, which shockingly there is still a lack of. Mitski wrote and worked on Be the Cowboy while she was touring. Mitski has self-described this album as her saddest ever. She said that it's partially inspired and written from the perspective of Isabelle Huppert's character in The Piano Teacher, a film that I now feel the urgent need to see. The album explores how women navigate the world, how we repress certain emotions and thoughts out of necessity. In the Fact Mag interview, Mitski said, "So perhaps I have to be even more controlled than my male counterparts, because if I show even the smallest amount of emotion, it's immediately interpreted as she's hysterical." Of the songs released so far, Nobody is so beautiful. It's a song about isolation, but it's got this amazing dance beat to it. It's such an interesting juxtaposition, and it reminds me of the XX song Loud Places. I've really been enjoying the album promo art as well so far. It's giving me very distinct Cindy Sherman vibes, which is very exciting. Luckily, Be the Cowboy is being released on vinyl. The general release is going to be pressed on plain black vinyl, and there's also an indies only Coke bottle green vinyl that I've pre-ordered. I've noticed that a lot of artists are starting to do this, where they have a general black pressing or another colour pressing for their album in general release, and then they release an exclusive coloured vinyl or like an interesting pressing specifically for independent record stores. And I just think it's really cool that they're supporting independent record stores, even through something as simple as a slightly different release. If you're in the mood for a bit of punk, how about the new album from Slaves? Acts of Fear and Love. Acts of Fear and Love is going to be the third album from Slaves. I don't know about you, but I still can't get over Slaves being robbed of the 2015 Mercury Prize for their debut Are You Satisfied? Like, I know Benjamin Clementine won, and I'm sure he's a great artist for people who are fans of him, but Slaves, they're incredible. I don't know, I was pretty upset about that. But Slaves apparently have gotten over it. I don't know how. And they have been previewing their new album at a series of intimate gigs across the UK through July. It's going to be a 9-track record, and it's going to have a very different sound from their first 2 records. Acts of Fear and Love was recorded at a residential studio in Belgium, where Laurie and Isaac experimented with a lot of different sounds and had all of these instruments at their disposal. So apparently there's a lot of interesting instrumentation and experimentation there. It's all about new sounds and new ideas, a little bit less angry, a little bit more acoustic, apparently even a little bit new metal. So we'll see. I read an interview with them in The Independent where they spoke about how there's a real want for guitar music to become more prevalent again. The album artwork that they've released for this is adorable. It features Isaac and Laurie, as well as Laurie's son Bart, who also features in a parody making of documentary that they put on Slaves TV on YouTube. In that parody, Bart plays this really demanding producer, and it's adorable and also kind of accurate. You should watch it, it's really funny. Slaves recently announced on Twitter that Isaac was leaving the band in order to pursue his dance career. So they were looking for a new drummer, who, according to the poster they uploaded to Twitter, had to like rats. I don't know why. I was fooled by this, but apparently it was actually just the setup for the video for Chokehold, in which Laurie auditions a number of potential replacements, including Boise from Peace, Dave Rowntree from Blur, and the Cadbury's Gorilla. And as disappointed as I was that there's not going to be a new supergroup, I'm pretty happy that Laurie and Isaac are staying together. Acts of Fear and Love is going to be pressed on black vinyl, and it's also going to be available on cassette. Again, they're doing an indies only release, this on white vinyl, so if you want to pick that up, you'll need to track down your local independent record store. Next, Our Girl released their eagerly anticipated debut album, Stranger Today.
I was sitting in the living room, smoking for nothing, hoping for you. Did you even notice that I'm here at all?
Our Girl are a Britain-formed, London-based, I believe, band who make just incredible, dreamy, hazy indie music. There's this understated depth of emotion to Our Girl's music. It's not brash, it's not showy, but it's genuine, and I hate to use this word because I feel like it's very overused, but authentic. Like, it's a very quiet, humble emotion, but that doesn't mean that it's not strong. It's very powerful music. I really like it, and I really like the song I Really Like It. So if you want to start off with Our Girl, I'd recommend listening to that first. I first heard about Our Girl through Flying Vinyl. They released a mini EP as part of one of the Flying Vinyl boxes, and I just fell in love with it. Our Girl are a trio fronted by Soph Nathan, who you may recognize from The Big Moon. If you like The Big Moon and you want something a little hazier and a little dreamier, then I definitely recommend Our Girl. Every member of Our Girl is so talented as well, like you just kind of listen and feel amazed. Again, Stranger Today is available in a number of bundles, and there is a standard vinyl edition and a deluxe double LP. The double LP is pressed on black and orange vinyl, and the second LP features a number of demos and bonus tracks. And it's also available on cassette if you are so inclined. I've pre-ordered the deluxe edition from Resident, and I'm really excited because they're actually going to be having an in-store performance and signing. I believe there's still time to pre-order the record, so if you're local and you're quick, then do go ahead and do that. I've never seen Our Girl live before, and I'm really excited. And finally, Troye Sivan is releasing his second album at the end of the month, Bloom.
Yeah, I bloom just for you. I bloom just for you.
Not only does Bloom feature a collaboration with Ariana Grande, but from everything that Troye Sivan's released so far, it looks like it's gonna be incredible. With Troye Sivan, I feel like I really owe a massive thanks to a number of you who have consistently recommended and spoken to me about Troye Sivan's music. Again, like Ariana Grande, I have to admit, I kind of wrote off Troye Sivan when I first heard of him. I didn't feel like I had to listen to Blue Neighborhood because I thought in my head that he would be like a lot of other YouTube musicians. I don't want to speak badly about YouTube musicians because I think that it actually encompasses a lot of different styles and a lot of skills, and let's face it, YouTube music exists now, so most artists are on YouTube. But you know what I mean, the vloggers who became musicians, or the artists who made a lot of vlogs while also posting up covers and then their own original songs. There are definitely some great artists, but I feel like the standard for it is a bit different from the standards for traditional music. There's not necessarily the same target audience, the needs of the music aren't necessarily the same, and a lot of these artists feel like they have to be family friendly when perhaps that's not what they want to write about. And the reason that I bring this up is because I feel like Troye Sivan has actually actively worked against all of these stereotypes. His music is so good. His music is so good, I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that he started out vlogging. And he writes beautifully. Like, Bloom is a poem. The things that he addresses, talking about queer sexuality and inspiring queer youth, is just so inspirational and important. And the way that he does it so skillfully, like, he's so good. And I know you're probably not surprised by that because you may be one of the people who actually recommended him to me. Troye Sivan has also spoken explicitly about his songs being about sexuality, and specifically about queer sexuality, and acknowledging that and not acting like there's anything to be ashamed of, which for the record is true. And his music contains so many bops. Bloom is a bop. My is a bop, but also very artistic and intricate. And if you recommended him to me in my live streams, in my comments, like, you know who you are, thank you, and do keep the recommendations coming. I'm also pretty excited because Bloom is being pressed on vinyl, and it's getting an exclusive white vinyl pressing through Troye Sivan's website. There are also a number of bundles, and I think a couple of them include this photography book zine, which looks really cool. All but one of these albums are actually coming out on the exact same day, on August 17th, and Bloom is coming out on the 31st. So as you can imagine, that day is just going to be like Christmas for me. So that is everything that I'm looking forward to this month, but I am very aware that you may have completely different things that you're excited about, that you're looking forward to, that you've already heard this month. So I'd love it if you drop a comment below and let me know if there's anything that you think I should be listening to, if there's anything you want to rave about, even if there's anything that you think is just like not worth bothering with. Please do let me know what your opinions on new releases this August are. And if you're not already and you'd quite like to be, please do click subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you get an alert whenever I post a new video or if I start live streaming. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!